And we welcome Jason Sobel to the show here this morning on Big Board Sports. Jason, Roger, and Chris, ESPN Radio in Albany. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. And I can just tell you, we can call it British Open. It's okay between us. You guys go over there. They're not going to serve you a pint in the pubs over there if you call it the British Open.
Got to be the Open. I'm old school.
That's right.
You know what?
That's right.
It's the British Open. And I know one thing, it's a darn tough golf course. Let's start with Jordan Spieth, because since he won a year ago, he hasn't won since. What's there anybody to believe that he could actually do it this week?
Well, I'll give you some pros and cons. And the pro, I think, is something that Jordan Spieth mentioned in his press conference yesterday afternoon, which is the fact that he's been playing more technically over the last couple of months. He's really been tinkering with his swing, and he's looking at what he's doing. And you talk to these professional golfers, they talk about spin rates and all these different things they find on TrackMan. He said when he gets overseas and he goes to the Open Championship, he just starts feeling his game. He starts playing creatively again, and I think that can help Jordan moving forward. That said, the con of this is what you just mentioned there. Hasn't won in 51 weeks, and really his recent results have not shown any sort of run of form. He played 6 out of 7 weeks going through the Travelers Championship just 3 weeks ago, and in those 6 starts that he made, he didn't finish inside the top 20 even once. And for a player of Jordan Spieth's caliber, that is pretty eye-opening, the fact that his game just isn't there. But I do believe that Jordan Spieth is able to turn things around a lot quicker than some other players.
How's the golf course going to play this week? What is the weather forecast calling for? I did see some fall-like temperatures.
There's going to be a lot of F words this week, guys. Fast, firm, fiery, maybe some other F words, too, based on where the balls are going to wind up this week, because we are going to see some drives of epic proportions, and this has nothing to do with guys being more muscular and guys hitting 460cc titanium head drivers. This is all about the terrain. It's been a dry summer in Scotland, and the balls are just hitting the fairways and taking off. You can't stop them anywhere. Now, it sounds like Carnoustie is going to play, as some people have termed it this week, Carnoustie instead of Carnoustie, and it's going to be turned into a little bit of a pitch and putt where guys can hit it 450 yards and take a wedge and knock it onto the green. Sounds easy, but these are some tight fairways, and with the ball rolling that much, if it doesn't stay directly down the fairway, it's going to get into some thick, heavy stuff on either sides, and these are, like I said, some tight fairways. So if you miss on either side of them, you're chipping out. Even if you have a shorter shot hitting a driver down there, it's going to be very difficult to go out there and make some birdies. So I expect it to play tougher, and hopefully the wind plays a factor to it. Usually does at the Open. I am seeing anywhere from 8-mile, 10-mile-an-hour winds early in the week to maybe now we're seeing gusts up to about 20 miles an hour, which that would be nice to see. I think we all like, especially when we're sitting at home with a big bag of Cheetos on the couch to watch these guys struggle with conditions over in Scotland.
Jason Sobel of the Action Network with us here on Big Board Sports 104.5, the team ESPN Radio. Check him out on Twitter at Jason Sobel, TAN. The greens may be something of a respite for a lot of these players, Jason, after they deal with the firmness and the speed of the fairways, if they're fortunate enough to land in the fairway. But Tiger Woods is not somebody who's looking forward to these greens. He admitted earlier in the week that he struggles traditionally with slow greens. How do you think these players will adjust to the fast fairways, the rest of the course, and then obviously the slowdown on the greens?
You know, Tiger can say that. I'm not sure I necessarily believe him. We've seen him struggle mightily here in the U.S. With fast greens over the past month and a half. So I would think that getting back on the slower greens is going to help him. I know that in his mind, he thinks he's the best fast greens putter in the world, but that's just not happening right now. So a change of pace and a change of scenery can only do him good. And you look at the clubs that have been a struggle for Tiger this year, and quite frankly, it's the driver and the putter. And those are two clubs that, granted, he may not need a driver at all. Some players are talking about not even putting one into their bags because the ball is rolling so far down the fairways. And the putter, of course, he's going to need a putter, but putting never seems to be that much of a differential at the Open Championship. And what I mean by that is Players are going to make some of their putts. They're going to miss a whole lot of putts. As long as you're two-putting and you're reaching the greens and you're making some pars, especially if the score doesn't get too much under par, that's going to be okay. And I don't think that getting away from fast greens like the ones he's been putting on, say, at the Memorial Tournament in Shinnecock, I don't think that that's a bad thing for Tiger Woods. I think that'll actually help him a little bit.
Jason, he won his third and last Open on this golf course, right, Carnoustie, and he did it without the driver. I mean, hit his driver once in 72 holes. Is that going to be the game plan for Tiger Woods starting Thursday?
That was actually Royal Liverpool, Hoylake, in 2006. Harrington won the last time in 2007, but the point is the same. I don't know that Tiger's going to necessarily need driver very much, but I also think his advantage is a little bit negated from what it used to be. Tiger Woods used to be the longest hitter, or at least close to it, on the PGA Tour, so he could hit a stinger 2-iron and keep up with other guys who were trying to hit drivers. That's no longer the case. So if you've got a guy like Dustin Johnson who's hitting 2-iron off the tee and a guy like Tiger Woods hitting 2-iron off the tee, Dustin Johnson is still going to hit it further, so he's got more of an advantage over a player like Tiger Woods if you take driver out of both of their hands.
All right, we've only mentioned two guys here so far, Spieth and Woods. Jason, who should we be talking about, and who might we be talking about Monday morning?
I'm looking at the players who tend to play their best golf on links golf courses, and there's not a whole lot of data, not a whole lot of analytical substance that we can look at and try to figure out who these guys are, but there is some. And I look at Sergio Garcia, who is 10 top 10s in his Open Championship career and came so close losing in a playoff the last time. It was at Carnoustie. I look at Mark Leishman, who reached the playoff at St. Andrews 3 years ago. I look at Tommy Fleetwood, who obviously played so well, final round 63 at Shinnecock last month. I look at Brandon Grace, who shot the first ever 62 in a major championship last year at Birkdale. I think some of those names are guys that you will see on the leaderboard come Sunday afternoon. Some of them bigger names like a Sergio, the other guys, maybe sort of second-tier names. If you're not a huge golf fan, you might not be totally familiar with them, but those are all very, very good players who are worthy and capable of winning an Open Championship.
And it sounds like, from what you're telling us, the weather's not going to be crazy. It's going to be semi-decent over there.
It doesn't seem like much rain. The report is it's a little bit colder today. There should be some wind coming in, hopefully. Hopefully it does. You can't forecast over there. I get it. You can't forecast weather anywhere these days. It seems like nobody ever gets it right, but quite frankly, over there it changes so quickly on a moment's notice that even if the weather is forecasted for a 10-mile-an-hour wind, by the time you get to the middle of the day, all of a sudden it could be blowing 25 or 30 out there, and you never would have expected it. So, like I said, hopefully we get some of that this week. That would be fun to watch.
Is anybody predicting Tiger Woods to win this golf tournament?
Yes. In fact, a lot of people are, and I saw last night on Twitter that his former coach, Hank Haney, who isn't necessarily always optimistic about Tiger's chances, he is picking Tiger Woods to win this week. I think it's a terrific setup for him. I do think, like I said, he can take driver out of his hands. The putting issues are negated a little bit by the greens over there. I think it's a very, very good scenario for him. I ranked the entire field on the Action Network in my piece that I put up last night, 1 through 156, from Sergio Garcia at the top to Haraldur Magnus all the way at the bottom. Poor Haraldur is going to be last on my list, but I've got Tiger Woods number 8, so certainly has a good shot at it.
Jason, my man, I appreciate a few minutes. Tell Tiger to keep the driver in his bag, and we'll see what happens. But thanks for coming on Big Board Sports here on ESPN Radio in Albany.
You got it. Thanks. Enjoy the tournament this week, guys.